Hey there, senior boot campers. This is Alice with CLBR. First time recording, so if sounds a little weird, hope you'll bear with me. Definitely not the first time I've talked about negotiating though and starting a job. So let's talk a little bit about um, what this will be like. I'll try to make some modifications about COVID time, what you do before your first day, what your first day is like, and adjusting to the workplace. That's what we're going to cover. So the first thing to think about is negotiating your compensation package. So this happens during the interviewing process, and you want to be prepared. You certainly wouldn't bring it up at the first interview. Students often ask, when do I bring up salary? Certainly not in the first interview. It somewhat depends on how many interviews there are in the process. You should always ask that after your first interview. Express interest in continuing if you are, and ask, what's the process from here? What can I expect in terms of numbers of interviews? And that will give you an indication that if, say, for example, if it's a 3 interview process and you haven't talked salary by the 3rd interview, you should have done your homework and at least know that both GlassSource is a great resource, as is PayScale. So payscale.com, glassdoors.com. From there, you can do both the location and the company itself and find out, and the title of the work that you're doing. So say, for example, you want to be a data analyst at a consulting firm that's in the Bay Area, a specific firm. You'll be able to get the salary range from both PayScale and Glassdoor. And I would recommend that you also consider looking on LinkedIn for alumni who may have been at that company and ask them what they know about the salary range. So a way to bring up salary if it hasn't been brought up is to say, I am very interested in this position. What I've learned over the last 3 interviews makes me extremely interested. Um, and if they say, for example, well, what compensation are you expecting, or what salary are you expecting, you can say, well, I've done my homework and I've seen from a variety of sources that the salary for a data analyst at this company ranges up to $65,000. I usually do the top range and not the bottom range. Ranges up to 65. However, I will say that what I've learned is I'm extremely interested in this job, and I'm curious about what your range is here. So that may be the range in the Bay Area for data analysts, but I'm curious what the range is here at consulting company XYZ. So that's a way of talking about salary. Another thing is to think about what else you might be interested in. So you're prepared to talk about salary ranges. You also want to be prepared to have a counter offer. So I wanted to just normalize that. Companies and institutions often expect you to counter. It's fairly normal to ask for a little bit more salary, or maybe in light of salary, you're interested in some other component. It's normal, especially in the industries like finance, consulting, and some of the consumer product groups, places that have very large human resource departments. But even at smaller companies or even nonprofits, you can expect to have a slight counter offer with either salary or something that you're really interested in. So say, for example, you're interested, relocation is going to cost you a lot to move across the country, or particularly that you want to start maybe a few days later or 2 weeks later than what they're asking because you already have a vacation planned. Or maybe you want to work remotely during part of it. Of course, that right now everybody's working remotely, but this is in future times when you're expected to show up in an office, but you want to be able to maybe have an altered schedule or more vacation time. So our advice to you is pick 1 or 2 of these things to talk about very clearly and openly with your new employer. Not all of them, but to pick 1 or 2 of them. And we're going to say it over and over again. Don't be afraid to ask. If they've decided to hire you, they won't renege on the offer. If you ask for something very respectfully and politely, if you ask for slightly more salary and say an altered start date, again, that's fairly normal, and it won't hurt to ask. So, oh, and I do want to say one other thing. You can always come and practice with us at the Center for Life Beyond Read. If you're just in the middle of negotiating and you want to call and talk it through with somebody, please reach out to us at Beyond Read, at our email, beyondread@read.edu. So what's a compensation package? So you make it an hourly wage salary, you may get an annual salary, but remember that you're being compensated by more than just what's coming in your paycheck. There are health benefits, there's time off. We here at Reed negotiate, or not negotiate, we calculate um, that your benefits, say for those of us who work at Reed, is up to 40% of the salary. So you may start at a $50,000 salary, but just know that your actual compensation will be much higher than that in terms of what the company is contributing for you. So benefits like vacation, like professional development, those are all parts of the compensation package. So do your research. Again, Glassdoor, pay scale is actually more for just salary, but Glassdoor can help you see what salary is, be clear about your needs and expectations, advocate for yourself, and if there's something outside your salary, as we've mentioned before, that's very important to you, don't be afraid to ask for it, politely and respectfully. A way to do that is to say, this is a really important decision for me, and I'm really excited about working here. It's my top choice. What makes it really work for me is if I could start on July 15th instead of July 1st so that I can attend to my family business. Would that be okay? So that's a polite way of negotiating or asking for a 2-week delay so that you can attend to something or go on a vacation that you might need. Again, always feel free to practice with us here at the Center for Life Beyond Reed. We're happy to do it. So let's talk about before your first day. You will receive a formal letter that says when and where. Of course, in remote times, location may just be, show up at 9 o'clock using a Zoom link. Or here's how you're going to receive your laptop, that kind of a thing. Most companies these days, this is not considered a contract of employment. It's simply a letter confirming time and date. I would also ask your manager if you could receive a copy of the job description around the same time that you receive your letter confirming. Of course, in the future days, you would want to review the transportation, the parking options, so that you're not running in at the last minute, but that you know that you're going to take a bus or a train or drive and where you're going to park, and kind of have all that kind of buttoned up. Then you're going to ask about your day. How will I start? Where will I start? What do I need to bring? What are some things like this is what you ask your supervising or your hiring manager. Where will you eat lunch? Always a good question. Or bring your lunch based on the first day. I think that's always a good idea. Have some things in your bag that help you get through the day. We also recommend that you check out the org chart so that you know who's who. This is done so that if you get in the elevator and somebody introduces themselves, you say, oh, you're with marketing or you're with a different department. And it's not just that you're checking out who the execs are and how the different divisions are laid out. It's also interesting if you have time to see who might have had your role in the past. So for example, in looking at the bio of the executives at the company, you might find out that the editor-in-chief of the publishing firm that you're starting with started as an editorial assistant, and that's your job. So now you know that you have a connection. This person started where you were. I would also recommend a couple more things in addition to what's on the slide. Check out any of the recent press on the company. You want to have that sort of in your working vernacular. What's been happening? Who have they been investing in? What kind of clients have they had recently? Where have their employees been posting articles through LinkedIn or Harvard Business Review or wherever it is that the press is showing up for this company? Usually it's on their website. You also want to start following them on LinkedIn, just so that you're, that particular company, just so that you have an online connection to them. So those are all the things that you do before your first day to get ready to have a good first day. On your first day, you want to take, again, some identification. This is easy to forget, but you probably need your social security card, your passport, your photo ID. All of those things are so that you can fill out the formal paperwork that puts you into the system for the company and into the system for state and local taxes. You're going to fill out a ton of paperwork that includes benefits, taxes, things that are specific to your role. So just be prepared knowing that that's what you'll need. You may want to have a list of questions of things that you want to ask HR, particularly regarding benefits. You'll likely meet with both your supervising and hiring manager as well as human resources. And I think for your first day, and I would even say your first days there, be prepared that this is going to feel like your first day at high school, your first day at middle school, your first day at college. It's going to not feel great. It'll feel like a little discomfort. You'll be meeting a lot of new people. So my advice to you is just be curious about different things at the company so that you have questions that you can ask a variety of people that you're meeting. I would bring some additional reading material in case they don't have your entire day days mapped out. It's very possible that there'll be a lot of unplanned time. And you can even ask your supervising manager if there's unplanned time during my first, few days. Um, would that be okay if I reach out to some people in the company that I've identified as being interesting to talk to? Or would it be okay if I found out who was hired in the last 3 years and maybe talk to them about their recent experiences, or the person in the last 3 years that might have been in this role who's moved on to another role? Are those people that I could speak with? So those are some ideas. Just stay relaxed, go with the flow. Before you know it, you'll be, oh my gosh, I'm back at work again. So finally, welcome to the workplace. In terms of professionalism and getting adjusted, it's a little bit of a bumpy ride to go from college into a daily. If it's not on Zoom, if you're actually in person by the time you are in this position, understanding the dress code, you should certainly have asked ahead of time. What do people typically wear on a day here? You don't want to overdress, but you certainly don't want to underdress. So good rule of thumb, overdressing better than underdressing. Punctuality. There's just no compromise on this. It's not professional to not show up on time. And so however it is that you keep yourself organized through your calendar, through whatever system you keep yourself organized, be sure to always be on time to meetings. Understand where you need to go in the building so that you're not walking in at the last minute to meetings. You want to ask a lot of questions and seek clarification if you're not sure. Being professional doesn't mean you know everything. It means you know when to ask and when to seek clarification for assignments. And it's really great to get out from behind your desk, go meet coworkers, introduce yourself if they're not introducing themselves, and just that'll help you get adjusted to your new workplace. With your manager, it's important to set up regular one-on-one meetings. So ask your manager, how would you like to do this initially? I'd love to have a regular meeting. Would that be weekly with you, bi-weekly? What's best? It could be a 15-minute touch base every Monday. It could be, a regular hour where you meet with a person and go over your assignments. You keep a list of questions and updates for your meetings. So keep a running list of what you plan to talk to with your manager. It's very professional to show up with this already prepared rather than just sort of winging it when you sit down with your manager. With your manager, you should create a 30-day checklist if they haven't already created one for you. What do I need to accomplish in my first 30 days? And that includes having all the right passwords, having all the right equipment, having all the right paperwork signed, having all the right training done. HR often has a series of trainings that they'd like for you to go through. And then also, what kinds of assignments will I have? What sorts of things will really designate success in my first 30 days? And so creating that checklist keeps you and your manager on the same page, and it allows you to go through it each week as you sit down with your manager. You can say, okay, I've made it this far. Here's some questions I have to make it, into the next segment of assignments. So asking questions sometimes feels like a sign of not understanding, but in the workplace, it's a sign of respect and a sign that you're really striving to be someone who is able to complete assignments and to complete them as the manager is looking for them. So I hope this was helpful. Be sure to let us know at any point at CLBR. We're thrilled to help you all along the way. Good luck.